students, welcome back. In the previous part, we discussed about orthogonal characters and the general behavior that is exhibited by all the sponges. Now in this part, we'll move on to our discussion about the reproduction that takes place in the sponges. So let's start. In the previous part, we discussed about the general characters of the sponges, and in this part, we will be discussing about the reproduction in the sponges. The sponges are hermaphrodites, means both male and female sexual organs are present in the same organism. The sponges reproduce both by sexual reproduction and by asexual reproduction. So the sexual reproduction, which involves the fusion of the gamete formation and their fusion, which is known as the fertilization, and asexual reproduction involves which the sponges do are fragmentation, reduction bodies, external budding or gemmules. The gemmules, which are mostly found in the freshwater sponges, are made up of amoebocytes and they are surrounded by layer of spicules. These gemmules help the sponges to survive the hostile condition which would otherwise kill the adult sponges. So when the environment becomes less hostile, these gemmules resume growing. So this structure shows gemmule, in which you can see that the body of the gemmule is surrounded by these numerous spicules, and archaeocytes are also present in the middle of the body. There is an inner membrane, a micropyle which is opening at the top of the gemmule, and there is a outer membrane. The sex cells, which are the sperm and the ova, arise from the undifferentiated archaeocytes. The sperms are formed from the choanocytes, and oocytes are derived from choanocytes in some sponges and from archaeocytes in other sponges. The sponges show both oviparous and viviparous fertilization. In oviparous fertilization, the sperm and the eggs, they meet in open water, and in viviparous fertilization, the sperm are taken into the body of the sponges and then where it fertilizes with the ovum. So this was the viviparous fertilization. Now this figure shows the sexual process that occurs in the sponges. First, there is the formation of the ova and the spermatozoa. After the fusion of the ova and the spermatozoa, it fertilizes to give the zygote. In the zygote, the cleavage that occurs in the sponges is holoplastic and equal. The holoplastic cleavage is the one in which the first cleavage always occurs along the animal and vegetal axis, and the second cleavage is perpendicular to the first. So suppose this is an ovum, this is the animal half, and this is the vegetal half. So the holoplastic cleavage shows that the first cleavage will always occur along the animal and the vegetal half, and the second cleavage is perpendicular to the first. So this is the holoblastic cleavage. The equal cleavage, equal and holoplastic. So equal cleavage shows that when the cell or the ovum is divided into 4 blastomeres, there is no, we cannot distinguish between the 4 blastomeres, the 4 cells. For example, there is an ovum, it divides into 2 blastomeres, and then again it divides to give 4 blastomeres, and we cannot distinguish between any of these 4 blastomeres. So this is the equal cleavage. A division that results in 4 blastomeres, and we cannot distinguish between any of the blastomere is known as the equal cleavage. Now after this cleavage, which is equal and holoblastic, a larva is formed. In Scypha, the larva is known as amphiblastula. In Leucosolania, it is known as parenchyma, and in Euplectella, it is known as stereogastrula, as you can see here. And then larva, it develops into an adult sponge. I have arranged some of the examples of porifera for you, in which I have arranged for the largest sponge in the phylum Porifera is the Physiospongia, which is shown here. And there is another example known as Euplectella, which shows commensalism with crustacean known as the shrimp. So you can see a shrimp which is present in the body of the Euplectella. Sponges make up the phylum Porifera, and there are 3 types of sponges differentiated on the basis of the type of the water canal system present in them. The asconoid sponges, which have the simplest canal system, then there is the syconoid sponges, and there are also the leuconoid sponges, which have the most complex canal system. So in the leuconoid sponges, the body cavity, that is the spongocele, it is reduced or it may be absent. These sponges are made up of cells. So they have cellular grade of organization, and there are different types of cells which make up the body of these sponges. Like there are choanocytes which help in the digestion in the sponges. There are pinacocytes which form the outer body wall, that is the pinacoderm in the sponges, and there are amoebocytes, also known as the archaeocytes. They are totipotent cells, so they differentiate to form different cells in the sponges. About the canal system, in the asconoid sponges, the water enters through the ostia, then into the spongocele, that is the body cavity, and comes out through the osculum, so it has the simplest canal system. About the syconoid sponges, the water enters through the ostia, which are the numerous pores, then enter into the incurrent canal, then into the osculum, and comes out through the then into the spongocele and comes out through the osculum. In the leuconoid sponges, because it has no body cavity, that is the spongocele, the water enters through the ostia, then into the incurrent canal, then it goes into the choanocyte chamber, that is the cellular chamber, then from the choanocyte chamber it enters the excurrent canal, and then through the osculum the water comes out. So the water canal system is very important for respiration, for excretion, and for the nutrition in these animals. And the choanocytes, that are the collar cells, help in nutrition in these cells. So they have a flagella by which the food particles are taken inside these cells. These sponges are radially symmetrical animals, and they are acoelomate, that means body cavity is not present in them. They are hermaphrodite, sexes are same in these animals, and they reproduce both by asexual and sexual means. There are around 5,000 species of sponges present, and they form a sponge reef in the ocean. These sponge reef are of important ecological, they perform the important ecological function like in breeding, in habitat and nursery for fish and invertebrates, and they are threatened by fish, oil and refinery industries. These sponges are used by human beings also because they have a property of absorbing water. So they are used for cleaning purposes and washing and bathing purposes also. So apart from ecological and the uses that they are used by the human beings, they also form relationship with other animals like the sponges Euplectella. It forms a commensal relationship with the shrimps. Uh, the largest sponge is the Spheciospongia. So it is the largest sponge present on earth. So this was about the phylum Porifera. If you have any other doubts, you can post them for free on askiitns.com. On the Ask IITN page, you will find the option of discussion board. So on the page of discussion board, you can post your questions under the Ask Experts by selecting various categories in this white box. And by clicking on the Get Answer, you can get the answers of your questions within the next 24 to 48 hours. So students, in this part we discussed about how sponges actually reproduce by both asexual and sexual method, the process that goes on in the sponges, and about the larva of the sponges. In the next part, we'll be discussing about our next phylum, that is the phylum Coelenterata. So stay tuned.